Hi friends, it's Sarah from Ruffles and Rainboots.com. Today I'm going to make a craft along, yes, only 13 minutes, of this adorable guy. If you'd like to make him with me, then you know the drill. Just boop, stick around. As always, please like this video so I know you're here crafting with me. Now this is made with the wild gnome pattern. I'll put that link down below. Many of you may have it already. I'm going to be using fur, fleece, a knit for the hat, something for a nose, you just need one. And then I'm going to use poly pellets for weight and poly stuffing for my fill. So I'm going to put the body in two pieces, a top and a bottom, in fleece, and I'm going to put them right sides together. This is a very inexpensive fleece from Joann's craft store. Buy it when it goes down to $3 for a yard. Use an extra coupon and I'm telling you, that's a pretty thrifty buy. Fleece is perfect for these kinds of items because it's going to hide a lot of sins and there's a stretch to it. For those of you with the pattern already, you know that I actually recommend all of the bodies to be made in some sort of fleece material. If you would like, this one can actually be made out of felt. You have to use the thinner craft felt and not a 3mm felt because you won't be able to join the bottom. This is also a pattern, the Wild Gnome pattern, available at my shop on Ruffles and Rainboots. It is available to be sewn or to be hot glued. So today I'm using the Sure Bonder detail tip glue gun. If you are new to this kind of style where you are attaching a base, just go slowly. You may want to put together pins that allow you to sort of make sure everything is even. I've done this for so many years and created so many patterns like this that honestly, I just do it by eyes now. For those of you wondering, yep, this is a craft along. I sped up me hot glue loading there, but the rest of it is exactly to how long it took me, and you'll be able to see how I quickly make this. Now, just because I am making this pretty simple doesn't mean you need to. Take your 12.5 or 13 minutes to make this gnome and then spend another 30 minutes decorating it. There are a ton of ways to decorate gnomes in any style. We're also going to talk a second about different fabrics. For the body, if you're new, I would absolutely stick with something forgiving like fleece. If you use cotton, there is no stretch and it's very thin without any interfacing. It's going to give you some problems. You can attach cotton to fleece, preferably sewn instead of hot glued, but you can attach that to give it a little weight. However, the cotton fabric is still going to have no stretch. Now that we have the base on, we're going to set that aside so it fully dries. This hat is made from a very thin knit material. We're going to put it right sides together, but if you want to add a brim, you're going to unpin the bottom and then you're just going to add a 1/2 inch brim. You can hot glue this, you can sew this, you can add a decorative trim to this, whatever you would like. If you do not want a brim and you're going to add a decorative trim, be sure to use a material that doesn't fray. As I mentioned before, this is a ridiculously thin knit, and I mean extremely thin. It's the thinnest knit I've ever worked with. And it causes a couple of problems for those of us. Number one, I just hot glued my finger right there. But number two, there's no structure to this. To add structure, you will need an interfacing. You can iron one on, you can sew one on, but basically that interfacing that does have a small amount of stretch, usually if it's a fleece interfacing, you will be able to even make this very thin fabric stand up on its own without anything else. If you would like to make a thin fabric like this or cotton stand up on its own, you can use the interfacing or you can use pipe cleaners or wire. But when you work with really, really thin fabrics like this for hats, you definitely want to cover that wire, wrap it in a little batting, wrap it in a little bit of fleece, extra fleece you have on hand, because it will poke through and you'll be able to see it. So one of the biggest bits of feedback I get on this pattern, again, Wild Gnome pattern, is that it is ridiculously perfect for shipping. And it is. We designed 2 gnome patterns that are specifically designed for online sellers to ship at the best rate possible. And that is because these are between 6 and 8 inches, however you make this one. And the Lovey Gnome pattern is also between 6 and 8 inches. Again, whatever size you make them, or whatever extras you put on will affect the size. But they are perfect. If you are new to shipping, look into Pirate Ship. It's usually a very cost-effective method of shipping. Or if you're next to a UPS or USPS, US Postal Service, look at their priority box shipping. So now we're going to turn the body right side out, and we're going to roll the edge down here in between our fingers. It's going to help that seam sit a little flatter. It will also help you identify whether or not your glue has any holes in it. As you can see, mine doesn't. I'm going to now fill up half of the body with poly pellets. You may think, wow, that's a significant amount. It is. And you'll see why. We're going to have all of the weight of the hat that is long and dangles. So if you put a long dangly hat with even a fleece fabric on without properly weighting the gnome, it's going to fall over. So in order to make sure that doesn't happen, we're going to add half poly pellet. Then we're going to take wisps of poly fill, and we're going to tuck it around all the way around that poly pellet. This is going to hide any poly pellet bumps or anything. Do roll it in between your hands, do squish it. Polyfill will break down over time just with everything. So you want to make sure you kind of overstuff it a little bit. Once we're here, we're going to close up the tulip top. A lot of people let me know that this looks like the Demogorgon mouth from Stranger Things, and I can't unsee it. If you like that show, let me know down in the comments below. I love that show. It's scary, but it's also kind of cool. So we're just going to make sure that we hold this in place and make sure it sets. You can see this is me real time, so it's not like we're having a whole lot of time that we have to sit here and hold the hot glue. I do have a little hot glue seeping out. We're going to cover that. Just make sure you don't burn yourself if you still have feelings in your fingertips. For the people who want to sew this, you absolutely can. Stick to less than a 1/4 inch seam allowance and you should be fine. I have both sewn and hot glued this pattern. I have actually a lot of these. You can easily send these through the mail. I just love this pattern. Super quick to come together. That little tulip top at the top of the body will actually hold nice amounts of fill. Always rub it and drop it, making sure everything is aligned. If not, you can, or if it falls over, you can actually move around that poly pellet and fill to get something a little more stable. I'm using you can see the horrible cut at the bottom from whoever cut this at Amazon or the fabric company. I'm going to work with it and I'll show you why. Normally I cut all that off and try and get the fur very, very full. It just looks better. But this one, I'm going to cut right to that point. So I'm cutting off the two edges after cutting a square. And what will happen is that little cutoff point will actually fall right at the table, making it fine that it's cut off. If you get any of these little strings from the fabric backing of the faux fur, just cut those off. Watch your digits. So you can see here, that's that little ugly bottom edge, but again, it's going to hug the bottom of the gnome body, so it's going to be fine. And now we just need to glue this on. Oh, I did have people asking me, well, can you sew it on? Yeah. If you wanted to sew it on, you would actually have to sew it onto the back side of the pattern before you assemble this. If you want to hand sew it on, bless you, you have more patience than me. So I just glue it on. And I don't know what is in the beard, but I'll get it, I promise. I don't know what that is. Little spots of something. But, you know, seeing as how I store my fur all jumbled up in totes, mixed together. Yeah, I don't know what that was. So I'm just getting an idea of which nose is going to be better for me. I think I like the bigger one. For ideas for noses, you can use wood rounds, wood halfbacks like I'm using here. You can use pom-poms, you can use ornaments, you can use pantyhose stuffed. with fill, whatever you'd like. When you flip the very tip of this hat, you will have a loss of about a 1/2 inch, but you will get the perfect platform to attach a pom-pom. You can see me playing with I love this knit. It's so soft. Anyway, you can attach a pom-pom, you can attach a bell, you can attach a farmhouse decoration, whatever you want. It's the perfect little platform at the end of this hat for that. Right here, you can add more stuffing. I think it's perfect for my use for this particular little guy, but I am going to add a little tuft. So this isn't a pom-pom. I'm actually not going to cut the fur on this, and I'm going to pull the fur into a nice little tuft, very similar to sort of like a tail. Not that I'm giving my gnome a tail, but I don't know of another way to say tuft. It's a 1-inch square, and I'm just taking the hot glue gun and folding each of the corners in. That's it. If you're making a very large pom-pom like this or a very large tuft, you should add a little bit of polyfill in the center, but for something this size, you actually don't need it at all. You will have to hold this a couple seconds to make sure that nothing retracts or comes apart, and when you do, also go like that. And maybe bang it on the table a couple of times because it's going to fluff it back out. You'll be able to see this little jumble mess right here where all of the pieces came together. We're going to actually glue that part. So by brushing it and pulling it, now we have a little tuft. And yeah, guess what we're going to do? We're just going to glue it right here at this jumbly little glued mess. And we're going to hide that right on the tip of the hat. Look at me being so deliberate about that. Hot glue. That's rarity. I tend to not be that detail oriented. All right, so now, as you can imagine, we're going to add our little nose. So I get a lot of questions about why don't I decorate? I absolutely do decorate, but how I decorate is not how you should decorate. So sometimes I just leave that for later. Sometimes, like on this guy, I'm thinking I want to start a birthstone series or a birth month series of gnomes. I've had that idea for like 7 years and still haven't done it. So I was thinking, oh, maybe I should wait because I want to make these little jewels. I saw a video on YouTube where a lady made jewels out of soda cans. We don't drink soda, so maybe I have to start drinking soda to get all the colors. So I put a little glue after putting the nose on only to the fabric backing. You're not gluing it to the fur. And now we put a little glue on the brim and glue that down to the nose, followed by the sides and the back of the hat. Now in the back, you can always add your custom buttons like I used, or you can add a fabric label before you glue down or sew down the hat. You can customize these in any way you want. But after we put the little hat to the side, that's it for this guy. I think he was fun, but I would love to hear what you think. I will put the link to the wild gnome pattern down below, and I sincerely appreciate you being here. As always, please like, share, and subscribe for more crafty fun.